I see that folks have slowed down coming in, so I hope we have all of our partners here today. This is our Return to Learn Town Hall meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. You may hear some, ringing in the background a little bit, and that's because some of our members are coming in a little bit later. So you might continue to hear that a little bit throughout the presentation. So this is an informal, this is an informational setting for our members, and we're going to review the Phase 4 plan because this is what we believe will be coming back to school is in that Phase 4 plan. And we are going to give some time at the end for some questions. So we wanted you to wait until the end of the presentation so we collect some questions, and we want you to understand that not all questions are going to be answered at a district level. Some of the questions are going to come from our buildings. Also, we're going to presume positive intentions during this meeting. We're excited for the new year and we can't wait to educate our kids. Know that the entire nation is growing their understanding about back to school plans. Therefore, things might change based on what our legislators are doing. So again, we're going to presume positive intentions. We can't wait to get back and to meet with our students in that online environment. We can't always, we're going to have to be a little bit fluid in the way that we operate because the legislators are still coming out with various guidance on coming back to school. So I wanted to first start, of course, by thanking our budget and restart teams. These particular teammates spent many hours reviewing and creating a plan for Phase 1, 2, 3, for Phase 4, and also for Phase 5. And we had many partners. So this team was formed as a direct response to the pandemic to ensure equitable access to all facets of the Hamtramck educational experience. We used the governor's guidance documents and consulted with safety specialists such as 360, which is an outside source, to produce a COVID-19 preparedness and response plan. And today, as I had said before, I'm going to be sharing the highlights of the Phase 4 plan. As the Budget and Restart Task Force worked on building the Phase 4 plan, the district hired a team of safety specialists, which were called 360, to map out each building. And what you're seeing here is an example classroom layout. They also gave us example mapping based on individual schools. So they went from building to building to building. They looked at every single classroom. They measured every single classroom, and they created example layouts for every single classroom, including central office as well, or the administration building. They're also currently holding strategy meetings with every single administrator and every single school, and they're tailoring an implementation program for every school. So as schools start to actually implement and get back in the fall, they are going to be observing us, mentoring us, and coaching us as well. All right, so in Phase 4, schools are open for in-person instruction with more stringent safety requirements. But at Hamtramck Public Schools, I want to tell you what it means to be in Phase 4. What it means is that we are going to be implementing a virtual program for all. So every single student will be online during our Phase 4 restart plan. We have addition of learning labs for our most at-risk learners. And let me define that for you for quarter one. So during quarter one, some of our special education students may be coming back into the building for learning labs. We have some of our newcomers who haven't been in the country, but maybe a year or less. They will have the opportunity to come in for learning labs. These learning labs during quarter one are going to be kept relatively small. So that way, of course, we're going to be able to do social distancing. We're going to be able to make sure that we have all of our PPE measures in place and that we're able to keep everyone safe, and then also gain confidence of our community as well. In phase 4, we are going to, of course, have social emotional well-being on our minds. We've actually purchased books and materials to support the social emotional well-being of students, and you're going to find those at your buildings whenever you start back. We've also made sure that we purchase Newsela or Newsela. And this is not a new resource to our school system. However, there is something new about Newsela. There is a social emotional component to Newsela that we are hoping to garner and utilize next year. We use Title IV dollars to purchase picture books to anchor lessons for our RPs, our restorative practice coordinators. And we also made sure that we thought about screening tools that you may need. We also thought about extra training for staff that you may need. We're going to have mentors for students. Of course, we have our parent liaisons and our school and community facilitators to connect resources to our families. And one thing that's new as well is that we're going to be offering breakfast and lunch programs, but we're adding days to the weekend so that our students can also gain access to breakfast and lunch on either Saturday or perhaps like maybe a Sunday. So we're going to add some weekend days there. Our special education department is also currently working on creating a recorded training for staff that will be sent out in the fall. That recorded PD will allow for teachers to review the session more than once if they need to as a refresher. And that again has to do with crisis prevention. As always, we will have access to high quality instructional staff and materials for our students. It was really important for us to make sure that our teachers were behind the lessons. So we went with programs like Seesaw, where teachers would be able to go in. There are many resources within Seesaw for K through 2, and they will be vetted by our trained and highly qualified staff. We wanted to make sure that any lesson that was presented to the students, of course, was given by our staff. We're going to be continuing to use Google Classroom in 3rd grade all the way up through 12th grade. Here's what's really neat about phase 4 and something that I absolutely love. We are going to be able to do live synchronous instruction, and that is the key to making this piece very successful. We all know online instruction can be challenging sometimes to connect with our students, but adding in those live synchronous lessons, I think will really help us to connect with our students in the classroom. We're going to continue doing report cards. Kids will be getting grades. They will still have progress reports go home, and we will have two-way communication. And teachers will be giving good quality feedback to our students as they progress through that online situation. Let's talk about some of the technology. We want an integration of new and old. And I want to tell you this, even though there are a lot of things on this slide, it's slow and steady wins the race. That is going to be our motto. We're not asking for teachers to integrate all of these things within quarter one. We're looking to pick out 2 or 3 things off the slide that you think will help you in your instructional practices, and we'll give access to, for students to have a good quality education. And then in quarter 2, add another tool. In quarter 3, consider adding something else. So slow and steady is what we're promoting. So for example, of course, our organization of materials will be in Seesaw and also in Google Classroom. We're going to have student assessments for iReady and NWEA. iReady will take place in a K through 8 setting, and NWEA will take place in a 9 through 12 setting. We're going to have some engaging tech tools that you might be able to use. I know that you all are going to be very excited, but Mark is working very hard to get us a subscription to Zoom. So you will have the option of using either Google Meet, or you can also use a Zoom tool as well. Just to clarify, some of the pieces or extensions that are within the Google Meet will not work in Zoom, which is why we're trying to give you an option. Because if you wanted to use Jamboard, Jamboard is something unique for a Google Meet situation, and it is not something you can necessarily use in Zoom. But of course, we're trying to give autonomy and choice to our teaching staff. We're hoping to get Screencastify. Flipgrid, we used some of that last year, and maybe you want to jump on the Flipgrid bandwagon. We've used Reading A to Z in the past, and now it's going to be even more influential to our students to make sure that they get access to text. Class Dojo is something that is not new. We are using Class Dojo in many buildings, but not in every building. And if you use Class Dojo and had it last year as part of your communication tools with our parents, we will continue to move forward with Class Dojo. Newsella, again, we had talked about it. This isn't a new resource, but they have added things to Newsella that are very important to us. We talked about some of those extensions like Jamboard, and then at certain grade levels, we're also grabbing Padlet as well, and some of the upper grade levels, specifically the high school, to help with student engagement as well. So we are going to be running a multi-tiered system of supports, but it's going to be in a virtual setting. So everyone will have access for English language support, core academic intervention, social emotional intervention, and then of course some wraparound services. Testing and progress monitoring could also be done in a virtual setting as well. So we are going to have the multi-tiered system of supports. I just spoke with a parent yesterday who was calling, who wanted to make sure that we indeed have a multi-tiered system of supports in a virtual setting. How amazing is it that parents have already started reaching out because they want to know the tools in order to help their students at home? I think that's incredible. So I know that our principal at that building called that parent as well in order to assure her that we are indeed going to be having the MTSS system. So let's talk a little bit about safety as well, because we do know that we are going to be hosting learning labs for some of our most at-risk students. And we wanted to make sure that you knew that PPE will be required. We actually used the document, the roadmap document, which is listed. Let me open right here. This particular roadmap document had strongly recommended and recommended parameters around PPE, hygiene practices. So I just wanted to take a quick moment, and I'm going to open up that document so that you can see it, so that you can grab it for yourself as well, so you can see what is located in this particular My Safe Schools roadmap. So this is the roadmap that we worked with when thinking about our learning labs and coming back for phase 4. You come right here and you can click right on phase 4. It gives you a virus status. You'll notice that it'll talk about how to keep our community safe, essential actions and safety protocols. And then you'll notice that there were many things that were required in order to come back in a phase 4 situation. So please, I I think that would be very good for you to take a look at this particular document, and I'll send it out district-wide. Here are the areas that were required. We also looked at the strongly recommended areas as well, and we included those in our back to school phase 4 plan as well. We looked at hygiene. You'll notice that there's also things related to spacing, movement, and access, which is why we were working with that 360 team, because we wanted for them to audit every single building and make sure that we indeed had a clear understanding of the capacity of our buildings. We also had screening staff and students in place, and that's where many of our screener practices came from, of course. There are testing protocols for students in this particular document. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I'll send it out to make sure that you have access to that. But so our learning labs, again, during Q1, we wanted to let you know that the learning labs will be used to provide instruction for students with IEPs, possibly 504s, and then also our newcomer students. EL1s might also come in if they are new to the country. And invitations are going to be sent out to these students. You know, not all are going to come. Some of their parents are going to keep them home because they might not feel comfortable, and that's okay as well. So we will accommodate with our MTSS program in that virtual setting. Learning lab invitations, as I had said, are going to go out, and they're going to, we're going to be thinking about, of course, spacing, movement, parameters, protocols, PPE, hygiene, and then also cleaning. We're also going to determine the staff who will be in those learning labs based on our building needs. And then, of course, in the event that there's some sort of high stakes mandated testing that is required for in-person, we might need some small group instruction for that as well. So let's talk about some scheduling for secondary. And secondary entails, you know, could entail KMS, the high school. It could entail also Horizon. We are working on those schedules, but I wanted to give you an example schedule. So I'm not saying that this is the exact schedule that your administrator has worked on, but at least this will give you an idea of some of the things that we talked about. One of the things that were really important were synchronous and asynchronous learning times. We didn't want to have it be a fully remote situation where students wouldn't have access to you, the teacher, because we knew how important, well, we know how important you are to the success of a student. So we wanted to make sure that we had both synchronous and asynchronous situation. Let's just take a look at, could be a Monday, Thursday. This is a block schedule example. And you'll notice that times will vary by school. So we're hoping to have maybe seminars throughout the day, and seminar would include that social, emotional, and mentoring time for students. Perhaps first period could start out with a synchronous lesson for the first 30 minutes, and then students roll into an asynchronous situation. So students would be logging in and out throughout the day. This is a Tuesday, Friday schedule. Again, thinking about, you know, having that block schedule for students. This might be third, fourth, and fifth period. Again, times will vary by schools. By blocking our schedules, or this example schedule, it allows for students to spend more time in one class and receive small group synchronous lessons. However, know that sometimes this schedule won't work for all schools. So it is based in the particular building that they will be situated in. And your administrators will be hosting meetings as well, and will be reviewing schedules with you. You know, we didn't want to lose electives. That was really important to us. We want to make sure that students can still enroll in elective courses and be successful in elective courses. So that will be an option for them next year. So this is an example schedule for the elementary. We're looking for time allocations based on the age of our student. So here's an example schedule for elementary, and of course time will vary. We have synchronous and asynchronous learning. We have small group instruction. There could be some formative assessment in there. We know in a K through 2 setting, we are going to be utilizing Seesaw. And then in 3rd through 12th grade, we will be using Google Classroom. All right, so we talk about next year, our professional learning. We are going to have a virtual professional development. So this is the very first one that we've ever done. We're very excited about it. We're using a program called Run the World in order to do this. So we're looking for a continuity between our professional learning. We talked about slow and steady, right? So we have trainers who are going to come in. You are going to have some autonomy and choice on days 2 and on day 3. So perhaps you are already extremely fluent with Google Classroom. Wonderful. So what we want you to do instead, there'll be an option if you want to go see Screencastify with one of our technology coaches, or perhaps you want to do a little bit deeper dive into Seesaw. You might have an opportunity to do that as well. So we're trying to, of course, build in some choice for you as well. We have example schedules that will go out next week for you so that you can take a look, and also Run the World as well will go out, but we'll give you some overall or an overview and example schedules of things. If you don't want to make a choice and you just want to follow the schedule as it is labeled, you can do that as well. We'll continue to train our staff and our parents and our students as the year progresses. So this isn't a one and done. This is just the beginning of professional learning for the district. This is the program that I was speaking about. If you type in Run the World, you're going to get a Beyonce song. So make sure that you type in Run the World and then type in conference. If you type in those words, you will indeed get to Run the World, and then you'll be able to view videos of the particular program. So we're going to upload everyone shortly so that way you can experience and get in there and decide exactly which trainings you are going to attend. So overall, I really want to thank you for sharing your gifts and talents every day with our students. We really appreciate that. I know that it's going to be uncharted territory next year, but it is indeed going to be an amazing experience for our students.